You know those moments when you're trying to mix two things that absolutely under no circumstances should be mixed? Like trying to use gasoline and water in your car? It'll just stall out and probably catch fire. That's what Paul is calling out in 1 Corinthians chapter 10. The Corinthians had a theological loophole they were trying to exploit. They were sitting at these pagan feasts where meat was offered to idols. The smart people were like, we know an idol is nothing. Where's the harm? It's cheap meat. Wait, why is Paul making such a huge deal out of the feasting itself if the idol is nothing? Isn't it just a social dinner? You might be asking, glad you asked, because Paul demolishes their logic. He says, I'm not worried about the idol. I'm worried about the demons. He explains that when unbelievers offer sacrifices, they are offering them to spiritual powers, demons, not just to empty air. And here is the absolute theological boundary that cannot be crossed. Paul states a stark ultimatum. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. You cannot partake of the Lord's table and the table of demons. He is saying that participating in the Lord's Supper is covenant loyalty. You are sharing in the life and blood of Christ. When you then sit down at the pagan feast, you are engaging in a public act of spiritual treason. You are trying to sit at two tables that are in absolute spiritual opposition. But what about things today? Like Ouija boards, crystals, or astrology? Aren't those just harmless fun? Absolutely not. That is the modern version of the pagan feast. You cannot seek power, guidance, or destiny from sources that are not God, whether it's through astrology, reading tarot cards, or using a Ouija board. That is actively seeking fellowship with demons. Paul says, do we provoke the Lord to jealousy? V. 22. God's demand for exclusive, undivided worship is non-negotiable. Trying to mix your allegiance is spiritual adultery. So what's the application for us? Idolatry is not just statues. It is any pursuit that demands the supreme allegiance that belongs only to Christ. You must flee from idolatry and affirm that your only table is the Lord's.